There's one lure that bass fishermen call the get-out-of-jail-free card. One lure that doesn't care about water clarity, depth, or whether the fish are feeding. It just catches them anyway. This is the VIB. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly why it works, how to fish it without losing it, and which of the two types belongs in your box. VIB stands for vibration. And the story of how this lure came to be is actually pretty interesting. Back in the day, crankbaits had already taken the bass fishing world by storm. They were the undisputed king of hard baits. But every crankbait had one major flaw. Because of its lip design, each model was locked to a specific depth range. Want to fish deeper? Switch baits. Fish suspend higher? Switch baits again. Anglers were lugging around massive tackle boxes just to cover different water columns. Someone eventually asked a simple question. What if you could make one bait that kept the deadly side-to-side wobble of a crankbait, but could fish any depth? The answer was brilliantly simple. Remove the lip. And make it sink. Those two changes gave birth to the VIB. A lure that covers every inch of the water column and triggers strikes whether the fish are hungry or not. So how does a VIB actually make a fish bite? There are three mechanisms at work, and they happen in sequence. First, long-distance detection through the lateral line. A fish's lateral line is far more sensitive than most anglers realize. It can pick up tiny water displacements from 10 meters away or more. In muddy water. In total darkness. It's the fish's radar. And the VIB pumps out a continuous, high-frequency, tight-amplitude vibration that sits perfectly within the sensitivity range of most predatory fish. The signal travels far. It's stable. And because the VIB syncs, you control exactly which depth band that signal is broadcasting through. Just count it down. This alone solves the number one problem beginners face, fishing the wrong depth. Second, close-range visual confirmation. Once the vibration draws a fish within striking distance, its eyes take over. The VIB's tight wobble combined with a subtle hopping motion perfectly mimics a wounded, disoriented baitfish struggling to stay upright. Predators are hardwired to attack injured prey. It's an easy meal that doesn't require a chase. And here's the detail most people miss. That metallic, chrome-plated finish on most VIBs isn't just for looks. Underwater, it catches and reflects light in rapid flashes. In clear water with good sunlight, that flicker makes the lure impossible to ignore. It's a dinner bell you can see. Third, the reflex strike. This is the secret weapon. This is why the VIB is the number one lure for turning a skunk into a catch. When fish are inactive, when they're sulking, when you could drag a perfectly presented bait right past their nose and they still won't open their mouth, the VIB still gets bites. How? That relentless vibration reads as a territorial challenge to a predator's primitive brain. It triggers aggression. Annoyance. The instinct to attack something that's intruding on its space. The fish doesn't need to be hungry. It just needs to be annoyed enough to strike. That's the difference between a feeding response and a reflex strike. And it's why beginners consistently catch fish on VIBs when every other lure comes back empty. Now let's talk types. The VIB category splits into two, and picking the wrong one for your water is a costly mistake. Type 1, metal VIBs. This is the most common, most versatile category. They're made from high-density metal, which means they cast like a bullet, sink fast, and vibrate hard. Within metal VIBs, body shape matters. Compact standard bodies start vibrating immediately and run at high frequency, ideal for fast searches. Slim streamlined bodies have a wider wobble and a better flutter on the fall, deadly when fish are suspended. Micro models excel in creeks and ultralight scenarios with the best hookup ratio on smallmouth species. There are even shrimp-shaped variants that hop and scoot along the bottom, perfectly imitating a fleeing crayfish, devastating when fish are finicky. Metal VIBs are dense with low wind resistance. They cast farther, sink faster, and thump harder than anything else. For covering big water, deep ledges, and remote structure, this is your tool. Beginner's top pick. No contest. Type 2, plastic VIBs. These are the direct descendants of the original crankbait. Hollow body, internal rattles, wide body wobble with a subtler vibration pattern than metal. They look and move more like a real baitfish. The built-in rattles give them superior drawing power in stained water, and the slower sink rate makes them easier to control in the shallows, perfect for targeting fish tucked tight to cover. The downside? Plastic has more wind resistance and less concentrated weight, so casting distance suffers. Keep these for close quarters work around docks, timber, and weed lines. Let's talk about something every VIB fisherman needs to know. How not to lose them. Metal VIBs sink roughly 1 meter per second for standard sizes, and about 70 centimeters per second for lighter models. If you're fishing unfamiliar water and don't know the bottom structure, here's the move. The moment your lure hits the surface, start a steady retrieve immediately while keeping your rod tip at a 45-degree angle. This keeps the VIB running higher in the column while you learn the terrain. Your goal is to find the minimum retrieve speed that still produces a clear vibration through the rod tip. If you can't feel it thumping, you're either too slow or too fast. Adjust until you find the sweet spot. Also, start with a 2-hook model instead of 3. Fewer hook points means fewer snags while you're learning. Target species. The VIB is a multi-species machine. Striped bass, largemouth bass, redfish, sea bass, catfish. If it swims and eats baitfish, a VIB will catch it. But it absolutely excels on stripers and largemouth in current and on deep structure. You've probably noticed those 2 or 3 holes along the back of a metal VIB. Most beginners ignore them. Big mistake. Each hole changes everything about how the lure behaves. Hole 1, closest to the nose. This is the forward attachment point. When you tie here, the line pulls the head down with the least angle, maximizing the water contact surface area and creating the highest resistance. Result, the widest side-to-side wobble, lower vibration frequency, and a bigger, more dramatic silhouette. It takes more speed to get the action started, but once it's going, it's loud and aggressive. Use this for long-distance searching, covering water fast, and drawing fish in from a distance. Hole 2, the middle position. This is the factory default, the balance point the manufacturer tuned for. The body planes evenly. Water pressure distributes symmetrically. The wobble amplitude and vibration frequency reach perfect equilibrium. This position forgives everything: fast retrieves, slow retrieves, bottom hopping, the action stays clean. It's the highest confidence setting for 90% of fishing situations. If you don't know which hole to use the middle one. Hole 3, furthest back. Tying here shifts the pull point rearward. The nose drops, the tail kicks up slightly, and the water contact surface shrinks to a minimum. The wobble tightens dramatically. The vibration frequency shoots up to its maximum. The signal becomes denser and penetrates farther. But there's a trade-off. Crank too fast and the action falls apart. This position shines in deep water, cold water, and winter scenarios when fish are grouped near the bottom and you need maximum sensitivity with a compact, high-frequency pulse. Quick gear breakdown. The VIB is a search bait. You're covering water. You're casting constantly. So prioritize a high gear ratio reel 5.8 to 6.3 for spinning, 7.1 to 8.1 for bait casting. Rod length, 2.1 to 2.4 meters. Power, medium light to medium, matched to your lure weight. Action is where it gets specific. A rod that's too fast transmits every vibration straight to your hands, great for sensitivity, but your forearm will be buzzing after 30 minutes. A rod that's too slow absorbs all the vibration, and you literally can't tell if the lure is running properly. Fast or regular fast is the sweet spot. Enough feedback to know your lure is working. Not so much that you want to put the rod down. And use a fluorocarbon leader. VIBs have small profiles. When a fish eats, sharp teeth can slice through braid in an instant. A short fluoro leader saves your lure and lands your fish. 5 VIB mistakes that cost you fish. 1. Ignoring weight. Picking a VIB based on color instead of grams. Too light, and you can't cast far enough to reach the fish. The wind catches it. The current pushes it off course. Too heavy for shallow water, and it's on the bottom before you can blink. Snag City. General formula: creeks and small rivers, 3 to 5 grams. Ponds and medium lakes, 5 to 12 grams. Big reservoirs and open water, 15 to 20 grams. 2. Retrieving immediately because you're afraid of snags. I get it. It sinks. You're scared. So you burn it back the second it touches down. But here's the thing. You'll never catch fish running a VIB 2 feet under the surface when the fish are holding at 15. Count it down. Want to fish 5 meters deep? Count to 5. Then start your retrieve. Rod tip up at 45 degrees. That alone cuts your snag rate in half. 3. Using a snap swivel because it's convenient. This is the most common rigging mistake I see with VIBs. A snap swivel adds unnecessary hardware that disrupts the lure's balance and kills the vibration signal. The fish feels something wrong before it ever sees the bait. Use a plain stainless steel snap. No swivel. No barrel. Nothing extra. Just a clean connection. 4. Guessing on the tow point. When in doubt, use the middle hole. It's the default for a reason. The manufacturer spent more time tuning that position than you'll ever spend fishing it. Start there. Only experiment with the other holes when you have a specific reason to. 5. Extremes in retrieve cadence. Either dead straight cranking for an hour, or yanking the rod like you're setting the hook on every cast. The right approach is in the middle. Steady retrieve as your baseline. If that's not getting bit, add a small twitch every 3 to 5 handle turns. A subtle rod flick, not a violent jerk. You're imitating a baitfish that's nervous, not having a seizure. The beauty of the VIB is that you don't need fancy techniques. Straight retrieve with an occasional hop. That's it. That's the pattern that has caught more fish on VIBs than every other technique combined. Here's the bottom line. The VIB achieves what no other hard bait can. Full water column coverage. All-weather performance. And the ability to force bites from fish that refuse everything else. Its genius is in its simplicity. No lip. Sinking body. Relentless vibration. You don't need a tackle box full of specialty baits. You need a VIB you trust, tied to the middle hole, counted down to the right depth, retrieved with confidence. If you're new to lure fishing, save this video. Watch it at the ramp. The VIB will get you bites when nothing else will. Questions? Drop them in the comments. See you in the next one.